Hi all. I have had a YouTube page for many years. It's been several years, probably 4 or 5 years, since I've actually posted anything on it. But I'm sort of getting interested again, and I'm gonna start making more videos. The driver behind that is that I recently purchased in the US an Airstream B190 van. I'm in it now. But this video is going to be about the process I went through to export it from the US and import it into Canada. The reason I'm making the video is because I found the process to be really quite daunting initially. In the end it really wasn't, but my problem is that I wasn't able to find a single source of information. So I did a lot of research, and so there's 7 main steps to importing a vehicle to Canada and exporting a vehicle from the US. So step number 1, you have to determine if the vehicle is admissible to Canada. Step number 2, you have to arrange for international or foreign payment. Step number 3, you have to get a binder insurance policy. Step number 4, you have to get an exporter on the US side of the border, and you have to follow their instructions very carefully. Step number 5, you have to arrive at the border on the American side with the vehicle. Step number 6, you have to go to the Canadian side of the border with the vehicle. And step number 7, you have to register and insure the vehicle in your province. So I'll go into more detail about each step as I go through the video here. But my 6 main sources of information while doing my research were Google, Transport Canada, the Registrar of Import Vehicles, my exporter, Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, and the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia, which is ICBC. So step number 1, determining if the vehicle is admissible to Canada. This was very confusing for me. Like I said previously, there was not one single source of information. Everything was here and there and everywhere, so you had to cobble together the information as you could find it. The problem here is that many people might just assume, oh, it's a North American car, it's going to be admissible to Canada, no big deal. But the reality is there's lots of vehicles that are not admissible for various reasons, which I won't list here. In the case of a Class B van, if it's newer than 2015, it's not admissible at all under any condition. The rationale behind that is because it's a modified vehicle, and for whatever reason, that's not permissible. I suspect it's got to do with safety. So you need to ensure your admissibility before you arrive at the border, simply because the border are not the people that are telling you that the vehicle is admissible. It's going to be the insurer. So the border, when you arrive, they're going to collect your GST and you're going to pay it and you're going to be off. And your next step is going to be the insurance corporation. And if you've already paid your GST and then it turns out that you're not able to register the vehicle in Canada or in your province, you're not going to get that GST back, and that vehicle is not going to be able to be registered or insured. So that's why it's very important to find out before you arrive at the border. So the folks that were able to help me with that was Transport Canada, although their website is not very clear. And what a surprise, a government website that needs a lot of interpretation. But really the clearest source of information was the Registrar of Import Vehicles. They not only have a fairly clear website, they also have a 1-800 number, so you can get further information from them. So step number 2, arranging payment. This was a bit of a complicated issue, simply because you are essentially in this case, I was buying a vehicle sight unseen. Now, initially, I was just putting down a deposit on the vehicle, but it was a very significant deposit. And the reality is other than a FaceTime tour and a couple of conversations with the seller, you don't know if that vehicle really exists. In Canada, it's easy enough to transfer money around between individuals. You can have inter-branch transfers, you can do Interac transfers, and money is essentially there immediately. In Canada, that's because we have a standardized banking system, and all the banks are essentially related, and we only have, I think it's 5 major banks. So they kind of trust each other. When you're dealing with the US, the banking system is not necessarily standardized. They don't necessarily all speak to each other. So I went to the bank, arranged to send him the deposit, sort of branch to branch, via an international transfer. And after I did all the paperwork, it turned out that the transfer was going to take up to 5 business days. So this was a really big concern for me, because the seller, he's selling a pretty popular kind of vehicle, and he doesn't want to have to wait 5 business days. So the following day, which was Tuesday, he actually had the money in his account by something like about 8:30 in the morning. So even though they warned me it was going to take 5 days, the reality is that it didn't. So then, skipping forward to making my final payment after I'd seen the van and I went into the branch on a Monday morning. I arranged for an international transfer of the balance of the money owing to the seller, and that was 8:30 in the morning, and he had the money within an hour and a half. So the third step is the binder insurance policy. You're going to essentially a foreign country to buy a vehicle. The owner is not going to leave his insurance on it, and you can't insure a vehicle in your province that isn't registered in your province, and that, as far as the Insurance Corporation of BC knows, doesn't even exist. So that was a bit of a challenge. So I went and talked to them, and it turns out that you have to buy a binder insurance policy. Yeah, it's an expensive product. I took it out for 2 weeks, not fully understanding that it was just for transportation purposes. So I expected that I could actually drive around, and the reality is you can't. So step 4 is getting an exporter. They are essential. You are not allowed to export a vehicle from the United States unless you are an American citizen, you have an American tax account, or you're a licensed exporter. In my case, I basically used the first one I called I Googled, and I called them, and they were just located across the border there in Blaine. They charged me $130 American, which comes out to be about $156 Canadian, I think. And they really streamlined the process. So if I would have known that they existed while I was doing all my research, they would have been the first people I called. Mind you, having said that, they only know the American side of the process. They don't know anything about the Canadian side of the process. So I got a broker. What the broker does is that they put together all the information that you need to submit to the border. They will send you all the paperwork. There was 4 main pieces of paperwork that they required. I probably submitted it to them probably late morning on whatever day, and I think mid-afternoon I had notification back from the American customs that they had received my paperwork. So what the exporter is going to get you to provide is a bill of sale. I was very uptight about how I did the bill of sale. I put as much information as I thought anyone would need. They're going to get you to provide a limited power of attorney, and that's for them to act on your behalf. They're going to get you to provide initially, it's a copy of the vehicle title document. In Canada, we don't have vehicle titles, but in the U.S. they do. It's a very proper document. It looks like a looks like a birth certificate or something like that. And then they're going to get you to provide an AES requirements document. Now, the AES requirements document, I don't know what the acronym actually means. I've looked, I can't find it. It's not even on the form. But what this is this is the document where you're providing all the information. This is all about the vehicle, it's all about you, and it's all about the seller. So your seller's going to have to be a little bit upfront with you. They even require that the seller provide their birth date. There's a couple of very important pieces of information that you need to know when you're about to export. First of all, the American customs, they need to have all that paperwork no less than 72 hours before you cross the border. It's essential. If you don't do 72 hours, then you're probably going to get turned away. In my case, I was only able to cross at the Pacific Highway truck crossing, and I could only do it between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. So you don't just have the liberty of showing up at the border whenever you wish if you showed up. So number 5. So you actually go to the American side of the border with the vehicle. It was literally like I thought it might be, just a rubber stamp. Showed them my passport, showed them the paperwork, and that was it. It was done. The sixth step is to leave the American border and then go to the Canadian border. This is also very easy. You just go to the regular gate. You tell the agent that you are importing the vehicle. He or she will send you over to their secondary. You go in, you fill out the form, and you go up to the to one of the officers at the counter, and they will determine how much GST you have to pay on the vehicle. They are assessing that GST based on how much you paid for the vehicle. Now, I'm a really honest guy. There's not a chance I would have tried to fudge the numbers at all. So I want to make sure that I had everything they could possibly need to determine that I was telling the truth. So I found this van basically through Facebook. So I had the Facebook post, I had the Craigslist post for it, I had all the notes I had taken while talking to the seller. I had obviously the bill of sale, as well as the bank paperwork. I'd sent 2 transfers. One was for the deposit, one was for the payment in full, and I had all the paperwork surrounding those transfers. In the end, the only thing the agent seemed to be really interested in was the bank paperwork. That's the only thing they really looked at. So there you go. You're into the country. The vehicle is legally exported from the US, it's imported into Canada, and so then you're on to step number 6. In British Columbia, vehicle registration and insurance is all handled by the Insurance Corporation of BC, which is ICBC. You have to take it in person so they can do a quick visual inspection. This isn't a vehicular safety inspection. It's just a quick little walk around just to sort of see what's what. In my case, it got very convoluted because I had done a lot of research and I knew that this vehicle did not require a safety inspection. So basically what the stipulation is a vehicle that is over 3,500 kilograms won't require a safety inspection, and a vehicle that is under 3,500 will require a safety inspection. This is right on the ICBC website. So I didn't get a vehicle safety inspection. They all insisted that I was going to need an inspection. She then goes and does a bit of research on her computer, and she finally agrees that she will sort of go through the process with us, but she warns me that we're likely to get stopped somewhere in the system. The system is going to ask them for an inspection, a certificate number or something like that. In fact, it never happened. We went through the process. The vehicle did not require an inspection. The system didn't ask for a vehicle inspection. Bam! That was a really abrupt ending to that video. Apologies for that. I hope you found it useful and that it contained information that'll streamline the process for you if you're intending to bring a vehicle from the US into Canada. Please give me a thumbs up, click on subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and follow me on Instagram at BeGone96Airstream. Thanks for watching.